So some of you might remember that last week I said to you, jokingly, of course, when the world is complicated, when I need moral clarity, and when I really need to know what's taking place geopolitically at such difficult times, I say to myself, what is Tulsi Gabbard's opinion? Now, that was a joke, but the full joke is actually, I think, what would Tulsi Gabbard say, but what would televangelist Pat Robertson also say? And now we know. Pat Robertson, who is now 91 years old, of 700 Club fame, a Christian televangelist who has previously said that so many things are demonic. I'm going to try to go from memory here. Pat Robertson has previously said, let me think now, yoga, Harry Potter, Ouija boards, sometimes adopted children, sometimes secondhand sweaters. Man, what else? All of these different things can be demonic and have demons attached to them. So Pat Robertson seemingly coming out of retirement to explain why Russia has invaded Ukraine. And I have to tell you, I'm actually fascinated by it. I really find this type of stuff fascinating because he's completely created an imaginary world that he, I guess, believes exists with end times and messages from God and stuff about the Pharisees, or I don't even know. I'm going to play it for you. And I wish I had, I mean, it's almost like a childlike imagination that the guy has. Check this out. It is wild. Here we go.
Putin's out of his mind. Yes, maybe so. But at the same time, he's compelled by God. He went into the Ukraine, but that...
By the way, Pat Robertson's still using the term the Ukraine, which is just a signal of, how long he's been commenting on these things, I guess.
Wasn't his goal. His goal was to move against Israel ultimately, and he'll link up with Turkey, with Azerbaijan, across the Dardanelles, and that little bridge, and they will come together. And then you look down into North Sudan, you've got a Muslim country down there, and there they all are. Persia, of course, is Iran, and there is the land that is set up in Ezekiel 38.
Right.
And you see how Ukraine is key because of you see the land bridge between Bulgaria, Greece, and Turkey, and all of that area is going to be mobilized against Israel in the latter days. And God says, I am going to deal with it.
Now, guys, I need understand when Pat Robertson says the latter days, he's talking about a sort of apocalyptic rapture end times. When he says latter days, he means the end as he believes to have been biblically prophesied. Isn't this stuff just fascinating?
So you can look at your map, you can read your newspapers, you can listen to your news, but know of a fact that God is bringing to pass what he prophesied years ago through his servant Ezekiel.
Now, it's always tough for me to understand. Do these Christian extremist types want the end times? Because with some of them, from what I recall, and I've interviewed some of them as well, it's just so hard to keep track of all of it. I think some of them want the end times because they believe that Jesus comes back then. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody who's been good gets eternal life with Jesus or something. Like they consider the rapture to be good because the sinners are killed, but you want to usher in the end times, I think, even though like most everybody dies, which you and I might be like, well, that's bad, sir. But I think people like Pat Robertson want the end times.
And you read it in the 39th, 38th passage of Ezekiel 1 through 6. It's all there. And God is getting ready to do something amazing, and that will be fulfilled. And what Putin is doing by moving as he is to set up Ukraine as a staging ground for one of the armies, and then across is Erdogan at Turkey, and you've got between them that little Dardanelles area, and it's going to happen. So I just say that is what's coming up. Is Putin crazy? Is he mad? Well, perhaps. But God says, I'm going to put hooks in your jaws, and I'm going to draw you into this battle, whether you like it or not. And he's being compelled. after the move into the Ukraine, he's being compelled to move again to get a land bridge and then across the Dardanelles with Turkey, and watch what's going to happen.
Yeah. Now, as many of you will notice, Pat Robertson is not looking great, but it still sounds like the same old Pat Robertson with some of those same ideas. So that is really wild. I have to tell you, there's some weird way in which I envy people who are able to be so certain about things for which we have no evidence and just allow themselves to be completely absorbed into that. And it sort of seems like you don't have a care in the world, in the sense of, it's sort of like with the conspiracy theorists. Everything's controlled. It's all predetermined. It's all planned. It's just like, it's going to be what it is. There's something about being able to fall for that I almost envy, because it seems easier than realizing the complexity and uncertainty of the world that we live in, and that, hey, we actually have an impact here. It's not just like, well, Putin, it's all ordained by God. Putin's going to do what he's going to do, and that's really it. It's been prophesied. As a practical matter, Pat Robertson's predictions aren't very good. And just as one example, here is one where he said Trump's going to win. And much like it was hard to tell whether that last clip was an endorsement of Putin or a condemnation of Putin, it's hard to tell whether this clip is an endorsement of Trump, but he was sure Trump was going to win, which he didn't, of course.
There's going to be a war. Ezekiel 38 is going to be the next thing.
By the way, isn't he talking about Ezekiel 38 in both clips?
On the line, then a time of peace, then maybe the end. But nobody knows the day or the hour when the Lord's going to come back. He said the angels don't know it.
Right.
And only the Father knows it. So I'm not saying this is the second coming, but I am saying there are things that people have thought would be during a millennial time with the coming of Jesus that are going to happen in our lifetime. And the next thing is the election that's coming up in just a few weeks.
Right.
At which time, according to what I believe the Lord told me, the president is going to be reelected. I'm saying by all means, get out and vote for whoever you want to vote for.
Right.
But by all means, let your voice be heard. But it's going to lead to civil unrest of great proportion, then a war against Israel and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
There's going to be a war.
The Israel, the Lord getting back to Israel didn't happen. Trump didn't get reelected. But that is really something. And he has been predicting end of the world stuff for a really long time. In 1982, I wasn't even alive yet. He predicted that the judgment on the world was coming very, very soon. In 2006, he said the Pacific Northwest would be devastated by a tsunami. In 2007, he said mass killings would be unleashed in America. I believe at one point he predicted an asteroid, and that didn't happen either. But okay, I mean, that it is what it is, and that's Pat Robertson's perspective. And even with the Trump thing, it's like, okay, so is it good or bad if the end times come? You can't really tell from how he says it. He's like, Trump's going to win, and then there's going to be unrest, and we're going to get closer to the end times. But do you like that, or do you not like that? It's never totally clear with these guys. One of our sponsors is Established Titles. If you're looking for a perfect last-minute Valentine's Day gift, check this out. It's funny, it's unique, and they're supporting a great cause. Established Titles is a project based on the historic Scottish custom where landowners are called lords and ladies. And so Established Titles lets you ceremonially buy as little as 1 square foot of dedicated land in Aberdeenshire, Scotland, so that you can call yourself a lord or lady. You get an official certificate with a crest. They let you see exactly where your spot is located. But in return, for each one sold, Established Titles will plant a tree to protect the beautiful, pristine woodlands of Scotland. Established Titles also supports global charities like One Tree Planted and Trees for the Future. So it's a fun gift, but you're also helping to support something great. And right now they're having a huge Valentine's Day sale. On top of that, you'll get an extra 10% off when you go to establishedtitles.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman. The link is down below.